In this video, I'm going to show you how you can get leaner and stronger and drop up to 20 pounds in 90 days, even while working long hours of 50 to even 70 hours a week and traveling multiple times a month. This video is going to break down the exact step-by-step process I've used with over 80 traveling professionals now to help them get leaner and stronger, even with their very hectic work schedules. If you're watching this thinking, I'm too busy, there's no way this is going to work for me, I want you to check out my client Stephanie, who works sometimes up to 14 hours per day, travels multiple times a month, has a very high stress job in healthcare, was actually giving a speech after our vice president. That's a true story. Also is a mom of 2 kids and was able to drop 13 pounds in just 12 weeks, implementing the systems that I'm about to show you. This video is going to be broken down into 3 parts. It's going to start off with what you may have tried and why it hasn't been effective for your life. Number 2, what you need to actually do instead and lay out the steps. And then number 3, where you can go from here after watching this video. Now, before we dive into the training, I want to give you guys a really quick introduction on who I am and why you might want to listen to me. So my name's Zach. I have a degree in biochemistry. I've competed in multiple bodybuilding competitions. And at my lowest point, I actually gained 25 pounds in 4 months while working a really hectic job, 60 plus hours a week. Totally lost control of my health and fitness, even though I had this background in it. That was where I reached my low point. I realized I needed to start making systems in my life that would actually work with the type of lifestyle I was having. I wasn't going to be able to work out 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, eat grilled chicken, broccoli, and rice like I did in college. This was a whole nother level and a whole new game for me. So I needed to develop systems in my life for what to eat on the go, how to eat out all the time because I didn't have time to cook, and what to even do at airports or restaurants or different places that I found myself in. I've now taken those systems and helped over 80 traveling professionals install them into their lives as well. And we're going to go over many case studies of my clients to show you how this can fit into a lot of different lifestyles. All right, so let's talk about who this training is for. This training is for people who are excelling in their careers. You might be in a leadership position at this point. You travel a lot, you're on the road multiple times a month, and you work 50 plus hours a week. So your lifestyle is pretty hectic. You're type A, you like data, you're hardworking, but you just haven't found a system that works for your lifestyle. Now, who is this video not for? This video is not for people that are still in school or people that are only working 40 hours a week. And the reason this is not for those people is because the reality is, like, when I was in school, I was able to work out 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. So if you're in school, just do that, right? You don't need any of the systems that I'm going to teach you. And if you're working 40 hours a week and not traveling, just cook all your meals, right? So you're not going to benefit from this training as much as the people who are traveling a ton and are working a ridiculous amount of hours and are feeling like they can't fit anything into their hectic schedule. Everything that I'm about to teach you is very focused on time efficiency and maximizing results in a short period of time. But I want to be clear, this will involve hard work. So this video is not for people who are looking for a quick fix, a band-aid solution, want to just take a pill and have it solve all their problems. That is not what this video is for. If that's what you're looking for, go watch somebody else's video, because this is going to be an in-depth look at what are the actual steps you need to take, what are the systems you need to build, what is the effort you need to put in, right? So like I said earlier, this video is for people who are hardworking and understand that changing your body, your metabolism, your body composition is going to take effort and it will be challenging, but that there is a way for you to do it even if your lifestyle seems too hectic for that to be possible. So I'm switching to my computer now so I can show you guys actually the different components of this training, what this is going to look like. So let's first off start with why 99% of traveling professionals have poor health. And if you're anything like me, this was the trajectory I went on. It was work comes first, then I need to make a change, and then finally getting to lean and strong. And so when I was in the work comes first stage, I was just starting out. I really just needed to prove myself. I was working very hard and it started to pay off. Things that I used to tell myself was, I'll worry about my health when I'm older, make a lot of excuses. Now's not the right time. I was afraid to invest in my health. And I really just believed, I was like, I can do it by myself. If you're thinking any of these things, honestly, you don't need to watch this video right now because this is not the right time. You're in the space where your work is your number one priority. And if it continues to be that way, like, you don't need to change yet. The people who need to change are the ones who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's where I got to after some time in my job and after gaining 25 pounds and not feeling good physically. So when I got to this stage, I actually have this picture here. One of my friends took this of me, and that was kind of my moment where I realized, like, oh geez, I really need to do something about this, right? And I'd proven myself to be capable at work. I'd gotten some promotions, even some leadership positions. I had increased responsibility. As a result, I had more stress. I'd gained a lot of weight. I was eating out a lot, traveling, commuting, had low energy. I was unhappy with my physique. which in turn was also eating away at my confidence and was affecting the way that I was showing up at work. Lots of travel, long hours. Maybe if you're watching this and you're feeling in this area, you've probably tried lots of diets, workouts, personal trainers, group classes, you name it, I've tried it. Every diet in the book. I couldn't build consistency with this hectic schedule, and I was hardworking but frustrated. So if you are in this bucket right here, then this training is really going to help you dial things in and actually get leaner and stronger, right? Again, if you're still here, don't bother watching the rest, because this is not a priority for you. You're just going to tell yourself again, it's not the right time. I can do it by myself. I'll just worry about it when I'm older. And it's just not worth it, right? What I'm looking for in this video and with this training and who this is actually going to help and impact is the people who've already realized they need to make a change. And if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then hopefully this training will answer a lot of questions for you. So for myself, again, back to my journey, when I go to, when I focus on customized guidance and correct inputs at this point that I'm speaking to you, I've worked with many different health and fitness coaches for a variety of different reasons and goals. And so for me, that was really helpful because I was able to follow a proven plan that was customized to my lifestyle, not a one size fits all diet. And so the reason that, all of these different diets, like if you tried keto, Whole30, intermittent fasting, Weight Watchers, Optivia, like whatever, you name it. The reason these things don't work is because they're not customized. They're just very cookie cutter. Keto is just stop eating carbs. That's a super cookie cutter solution, and probably not very sustainable too, because I don't know about you, but I love carbs, and most of the world eats carbs, right? Like that's a pretty normal thing to eat. And so if you're going out on client dinners and you can't touch a single carb, that's going to be a big challenge, right? So as I'm going to go into a little bit more in depth in a second here, I'm going to teach you more about macronutrients and how you can actually fit any foods that you're eating into your diet. And to illustrate this, I have a picture here of a meal I ate and a picture I took literally an hour after eating said meal. And this was actually when I'd had pretty much 2 months straight of back-to-back travels. So, you can eat foods like this. Like this is good food. I mean, yeah, you can tell it's fairly clean. I'm making good choices, right? I got some salmon here, some eggs, some chicken sausages, but I'm also eating some French toast, right? I'm also adding some waffles with peanut butter on them and a croissant. Like you can have that type of flexibility once you understand macronutrients. So like I said, I'm really excited to show you a little bit more in depth on that later on in this training. Some other things that were benefits for me of getting leaner and stronger: amazing energy levels. When you're carrying less body fat on your body, you feel better, you show up better, right? Like didn't feel very good. You can see the tired lines under my eyes. It wasn't showing up well, right? When I'm leaner and stronger, I get to look like this and I went to try a boxing class with some of my friends, and I got to show up looking like this. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that to brag. Like, I mean, if anything, I'd say my physique is pretty like mid-tier. It's not, it's nothing crazy, but the confidence that I got from being able to show up to these different scenarios, go easily, go for a fun trip and go easily be able to climb this mountain. Like this was almost straight uphill. You can see like, how high it was, be able to climb it without getting winded. Me a few years ago could not have done that, right? Like I wasn't in a state physically to be able to do that. Started like feeling younger again, proud of myself. I think this was the biggest one though. Better relationship with food was just huge, right? Being able to actually eat what I wanted and, loved. And I want to be clear too, what I'm going to show you about macronutrients, you're not going to, be able to eat like burgers and pizza every meal of every single day, but you will be able to eat those foods and fit them in. If those are your favorite foods, you will be able to fit them into your diet. So, and then the last thing I'll add too is I started to do even better in my career. And so, I had this mentality at first of like work comes first, but what I realized was actually when I prioritized my health, I actually had more energy. I was more efficient. I was able to think more clearly, and I had more confidence. So I showed up better as a leader, and I was able to do better professionally. So anyways, that's just something to think about. Now, let's talk a little bit more about metabolism itself and how we can actually manipulate that using our macronutrients and using our training. Specifically by training, I mean strength training. So let's go into this. So if you have a slower metabolism, some different signs you might see of that is if you're at a weight plateau, feeling fatigued, can't really focus, low energy, maybe low sex drive, feeling depressed, insulin resistance, meaning you eat a little bit of carbs and you just gain a bunch of weight, bad skin and hair. All of these things are signs that your metabolism has slowed. Now, a lot of people have this misconception that, oh, well, my metabolism has just slowed down because I'm getting older, right? If I'm in my, 30s, I have a slower metabolism than when I was in my 20s, or when I'm in my 40s or my 50s, and so on, right? And the reality is our metabolisms actually don't slow down much with age. And there's a study from Duke, which I'll post in the description if you want to read it. But essentially what they found was that our metabolism slows very insignificantly with age up until we're the age of 60. And once you turn 60, your metabolism goes down 0.7% per year, which is still not that much, right? So if you're under the age of 60 and watching this, saying that your metabolism is getting slower because of age is actually not a valid reason. It's actually not a valid reason. Your metabolism is getting slower because of your lifestyle. So let's talk about how we can actually raise our metabolisms. And I'll show you what has worked really well for my clients. I'll even show you like Stephanie, who I mentioned earlier, right? She came to me weighing 135 pounds. In this picture, she's 122 pounds. So dropped 13 pounds in 12 weeks. Came to me with a slow metabolism, had been starving herself, had been having a really unhealthy relationship with food. Once we fixed her metabolism, she was able to wear a bikini for the first time in 3 years, change her body, right? Even, I'd say even more exciting than that, she was able to motivate her son to go to the gym with her, right? So that's the power of supercharging your metabolism. And in terms of how to actually do that, so let's first go over the quadrants of the metabolism, right? There's 3 quadrants. Number 1 is your resting metabolic rate. This is all the energy that your body burns just doing things at rest, like sitting, thinking, breathing, sleeping, right? Regular organ function. Then we have the thermic effect of food, which is how much energy your body uses to digest the food that you're eating and then convert those calories into whatever you need to use them for. And then finally is active energy expenditure. So most of the time when people want to lose weight, they want to get leaner, they think I need to boost my active energy expenditure, I need to move more, and I need to eat less, right? That's very common, typical. If you're watching this, you probably tried that. If you want to lose weight at some point in your life, you probably tried to eat more, move more, eat less, right? The challenge with that is actually that you start to lose the thermic effect of food because you're eating less food, so your body's not burning as many calories from digestion. Another challenge with that is over time, as you start to eat less food, you start to reach what's called metabolic adaptation. And so metabolic adaptation is essentially just your body's way, it's a survival mechanism, right? It's your body's way of keeping you alive because our bodies are the same bodies that we had thousands of years ago, right? In prehistoric times, you think about, how we were as humans back then. If you didn't have access to food, your body would need to slow your metabolism so that you could survive longer by burning less calories, right? So what we're doing in our society by constantly wanting to lose weight is unintentionally, causing metabolic adaptation. So what happens when you move more and eat less is over time, your resting metabolic rate starts to slow down. And this can be really dangerous. This is a huge problem because you're going to feel all of these things right here, and you're actually going to hit a weight loss plateau. So how do we fix this? We need to fix this with 2 things. Number 1 is we need the proper ratio of macronutrients so we can boost the thermic effect of food. And number 2, we need to increase strength training. So in the active energy expenditure, rather than focusing on like walking and cardio and all those things, we actually want to focus more on strength training because what happens is as you do strength training, you're going to build up more and more muscle onto your body. The more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to burn. So to illustrate this, actually, I forgot to put this here. This is my transformation from high school. I was 130 pounds to 185 pounds. And it goes along with this picture right here, which is essentially that the less muscle mass you have on your body, the less calories you're going to burn versus the more muscle mass you have on your body, the more calories you're going to burn, right? So in this picture, I was eating about 2,000 calories a day. In this picture, I can now eat 3,000 calories a day. And that's because I have a significantly higher amount of muscle mass on my body, allowing me to eat more food and stay the exact same weight. Now, you might be watching this thinking, well, Zach, maybe I don't want to be this big. Maybe I don't want to look like a bodybuilder, right? And the reality is you don't have to. And the time between these 2 pictures was 9 years. 9 years between these pictures. So it took me 9 years to put on 55 pounds of muscle, right? The reality is our bodies don't put on muscle very quickly. So if you start strength training, you're not going to, suddenly become like massive and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything like that. If anything, actually, muscle will make you look leaner. And I want to show you an example right here of my client Ayush, where as he started to gain muscle mass, he actually lost weight here, but he looks leaner, right? He looks just like tighter overall. And he lost 7 pounds. So he wasn't even like packing on like pounds and pounds and pounds of muscle, but he looks leaner. I'll show you another one as another great example of this. Here's Tony. He actually was the exact same weight in both of these photos. These are 3 months apart though. And so you can see his body composition started to change. When he came to me, he had metabolic adaptation. You can tell by basically the bloating in his gut and how he's holding a lot of body fat in his stomach, right? As soon as we started to address that, instantly his physique started to change, right? The amount of fat carried on his lower back started to go down. Same thing with his abdomen, you can see from the sides, right? Started to build some muscle on his chest, lean out his arms. Actually, I need to put an updated picture of his arms from like last week because now he has like his full on like tricep heads showing through. So anyways, the point is, as you start to raise the amount of muscle mass on your body, you're going to start to burn more calories. As you start to burn more calories, you're going to start to lose body fat and also lose weight, right? If your goal is to lose weight, the more muscle mass you have, the easier it will be to lose that weight. Another thing I forgot to mention is the amount of time it takes to see results. You might think like, wow, Zach, this sounds great, but it's going to take me a lot of time and it's going to be really hard to get these kind of results. And actually, that's not true. If I show you Paul, so he literally had this transformation in 2 months, right? And he was able to drop 10 pounds in just 8 weeks by focusing more on his strength training and dialing in his macronutrients, his proteins, fats, and carbs. Same thing with Jude. This is a 15-week transformation, drop 20 pounds, right? He's also running a go-to-market strategy for a huge SaaS company, travels across 5 different continents, and still was able to do this. So the reality is, if you want it bad enough and you apply the systems to your life, you can get results like any of these people. Like Chuck, VP of sales, travels every other week, already has dropped 10 pounds and he's literally just getting started. I mean, like, look at the change in his body already, right? Dropped 2 pant sizes as well. The list goes on. We have Samin, we have Steph, Priscilla, it's just like Andrew, right? High stress research job. He lifted before, eats Korean barbecue every week and still is able to drop weight. So the thing is, like, it's actually not as hard as you would think. And I know, you might be like, oh, well, maybe these people are just, training a crazy amount, just like working crazy hard and pushing themselves to the limits. It's like, actually not really. They're only doing like, let me think about an example I can show you. For the most part, everybody here is working out for 3 hours a week. So 45-minute sessions, 3 strength training sessions for 45 minutes, maybe 1 or 2 cardio sessions for 30 minutes. Like, that's all it takes from the training side of things to actually see great results. You don't have to be spending 2 hours in the gym 6 days a week. Like, it's, 1, that's not feasible with your schedule, and 2, that's actually not the most effective way to get results. So when you focus on the strength training, you can really start to drive intensity. The next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about actually is exactly that. With strength training, how do you actually structure this to make sure that it's effective and take as small of an amount of time as possible? So what I have my clients do is something called antagonistic muscle training. What that means is you train 2 different muscle groups at the same time. So for example, let's say Ayush was training his chest one day. I'd recommend that he also train his back on the same day, because that motion of pushing is very different from the motion of pulling, and you're targeting different muscle groups. So by doing this, you're able to create a workout that's very efficient, but doesn't push your body too hard. All right, we've gone over a lot of information so far. We've covered a little bit of what you may have tried in the past, why it hasn't worked. And actually, it's not your fault, because you've been lied to and misled to believe that all of these cookie cutter solutions are going to solve the problem, when in reality, you need customized guidance, because everybody is different, which means every body is different, meaning that you and I could eat the exact same ratio of macronutrients and get vastly different results. So I want to talk a little bit more about macronutrients with you, and I want to use my client Josh as an example of this. And he's dropped 65 pounds as a marketing strategist, works a lot, and had tried everything. Name every diet in the book. He tried keto, Whole30, literally had been trying to lose weight for 10 years, right? And so what we did together was we found versions of food that he loves with the right ratio of macronutrients, right? That's being proteins, carbs, and fats, right? And once he did this, I mean, that coupled with strength training just completely supercharged his metabolism, dropped 65 pounds, right? Like, you might be thinking like, oh, like, that's great. Some of these people are losing like 10, 15 pounds, but the reality is if you have a big amount of weight to lose, you can also drop that much as well. It just takes dialing in the system properly. So now that you know that, using macronutrients and strength training can lead to these crazy results, I mean, that's pretty cool, right? You might be thinking like, well, this sounds too complex. It sounds too complicated. Like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this, right? That's a question that I get a lot. And the reality is it's actually not as complex as you would think. The way that I like to describe macronutrients is it usually takes about 2 weeks to really get things going and kind of like get in the flow and in the feel of things. And once you do that, like it's on autopilot. You don't have to think about it, And so I think of it as like driving a stick shift car. Like initially it'll be a little bit challenging, a little bit like, you got to think about the little details, but once you get those locked in, like it becomes smooth sailing. And then you get results like Tony, where he stood in the front row for picture day, right? Because before he'd always hated getting his picture taken and had always been self-conscious. And so you kind of have to ask yourself like, okay, well, is it worth putting in that upfront investment to like learn the details about macronutrients and start to implement some strength training to get the results I want? At the end of the day, not having time, as I've hopefully showed you, is not an excuse, right? You have the time because you can condense your training down and make it very short and concise and really efficient so that you don't need to be spending hours in the gym. Same thing with your food. You can build out your macronutrients, your proteins, fats, and carbs so that you can have flexibility, so that you can go out to a client dinner and be able to eat whatever's on the menu, not feel guilty about it, still be hitting your goals because you prepped earlier in the day for breakfast, lunch, so that you could control the controllables. So yeah, with that being said, I mean, you've seen lots of transformations at this point. You've kind of, gained hopefully an understanding of why focusing on your macronutrients is so important, and two, why focusing on your training is so incredibly important. And so at this stage, there's really 3 options that you can do from here. Option number 1 is you pretend you never watched this video and you go living your life exactly like you have before. Option 2 is you actually take something away from this video and you hopefully learn something and you start to apply and track your macronutrients, take that more seriously. You start to try to build out your own workout plan. And the reality is like you can try that and you might be successful. You also might not. You might fail. You'll probably make mistakes along the way. And so that leads me to option 3, which is you can book in a call with me down below and I will build you out a custom plan, show you how to plug these systems into your life to guarantee that you get the results that you want. So if that sounds like something you want to do, then click the link below, book in a call with me, and we can go over that and build that out together. So with that being said, hope this video was helpful. Hit thumbs up button if it was, and I look forward to seeing you on that call.